It's a clear manifesto breach. They made a promise to the small business community. They had a small business plan. They had a manifesto that said no increase on national insurance.
Keir Starmer, man of the people, the political knight in shining armour who promised not to raise taxes on working people. Remember that? I do. You do. The whole country does. Before I get started, I have a favour to ask. If you enjoy the video, please give it a like, comment, and even consider subscribing. It all helps to grow our community. Thank you, and on to the video. It was a cornerstone of Labour's 2024 election manifesto. No increases to income tax, VAT, or national insurance. But surprise, we might want to rename it Labour's Fiction Collection, because it looks like Starmer is set to pull a classic bait and switch on employers and, by extension, the working class.
Will you cut taxes?
The offer will be that we've got to stabilise and grow our economy, and everything hangs off that. Now, quite often, the Labour Party doesn't want to fight an election on the economy. We want to fight the election on the economy. We've got to grow our economy because that's the only way that we can actually make the progress that we need to make. On taxes, I mean, firstly, the highest tax since the Second World War. I mean, this really is anti-Conservative stuff. I want taxes to come down for working people. They've been really clobbered time and time again, whether that's on income tax, whether it's national insurance or council tax, which of course, or the stealth tax of thresholds. Everywhere you look, obviously we've got to reduce our debt. I accept that. We've got to grow our economy. I accept that. But you then got to decide, well, where is the burden going to lie? And this government keeps clobbering working people.
In a series of eyebrow-raising interviews, Starmer and his trusty sidekick, Chancellor Rachel Reeves, have been coy about the future of employer national insurance contributions, NICs. While they've bent over backwards to assure us that personal taxes won't go up, they've stopped just short of promising that your boss's NIC bill won't increase. And you know what that means. If employers have to cough up more, guess who ultimately pays? Spoiler alert, it's you. Here's a quick reminder of Starmer's greatest hits. The Labour manifesto practically sang about not raising taxes on working people. No hikes to income tax? Check. VAT? Check. National insurance? Check. For a minute there, it sounded like Christmas came early. Fast forward to October 2024, and suddenly Starmer's got the political equivalent of selective amnesia. Pressed repeatedly on whether his government will keep that sacred promise not to touch national insurance, employers or employees, Starmer responded like a politician caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Very clear from the manifesto that what we were saying is we're not going to raise tax for working people. And it wasn't just the manifesto, we said it repeatedly in the campaign.
By dodging the question like a professional gymnast. In fact, when asked point blank, he didn't even rule out an increase in employer NICs. Let's be clear, Starmer's supposed commitment to not raising taxes on working people was always the headline act. It was the shield he used to protect Labour's fiscal agenda from criticism. But now, with an allegedly £22 billion black hole in public finances staring him down, Starmer is abandoning that shield faster than you can say national insurance hike. He's trying to dodge the bullet by raising employer national insurance contributions, NICs, not those of employees. Clever, right? Except it's not. It's deceitful. Starmer is hoping we won't notice that higher employer NICs will absolutely hurt working people. Businesses, already struggling with rising costs, will pass the pain right down the chain. And guess who gets hit the hardest? Yep, the very workers Starmer swore to protect. Starmer and Reeves are now playing a dangerous game of political word gymnastics. When asked if employers can expect a NIC's hike in the upcoming budget, Starmer dodges the question with the finesse of a professional tap dancer. Instead of giving a straightforward answer, he reverts to vague assurances about not raising taxes on workers. But let's cut through the fog. An increase in employer NICs is a tax on workers. Just one step removed. The increased costs to businesses won't come out of thin air. Wages will stagnate, jobs will be cut, and businesses might decide to pack up altogether. This isn't just speculation. Small businesses are already sounding the alarm, warning that a NIC's hike could lead to fewer jobs and less economic growth. Remember, these are the same businesses that were promised stability, not surprise tax bills that threaten their survival. The Federation of Small Businesses has called it outrageous.
It's a clear manifesto breach. They made a promise to the small business community. They had a small business plan. They had a manifesto that said no increase on national insurance. They didn't specify within that which bits of national insurance. And this will hit working people. And I think that's the bit that's missing in all this debate, because if you make every job that's created in the economy more expensive, you will have fewer jobs. And that's what the jobs tax does. That's what employer national insurance does. 1/7 of your salary is paid to the Treasury, and it's not a contributory benefit. It is purely to raise revenue. And if you increase that more, then a small business with, say, 7 or 8 staff won't create that extra job because it simply can't afford to.
Pointing out that increasing employment costs could shrink small business hiring, right when we need growth the most. Starmer might be banking on employers eating the cost, but anyone with a passing understanding of economics knows that's a pipe dream. The real issue here isn't just about economic consequences, though they'll be severe. It's about trust. Starmer promised not to raise taxes, and now he's trying to do exactly that while pretending he's not. His pledge to not raise taxes on working people is rapidly disintegrating into a bad joke. Higher NICs will ultimately affect wages, job security, and living standards. Whether the tax increase hits directly or indirectly, Labour's fiscal prudence facade is crumbling, and Starmer knows it. But instead of owning up to the reality that everyone will feel the squeeze, he's hiding behind technicalities and hoping no one notices. Spoiler alert, we notice, and working people will notice when their wages freeze and their job prospects shrink. Starmer might try to spin this as a bold step for the economy, but the truth is simple. He's breaking promises and hoping we're too distracted to care. If this is Labour's idea of protecting the working class, I'd hate to see what they do when they really stop caring.